Soon after that, her son found the phone and asked to play with it. She agreed, thinking nothing unusual was gonna happen. But around 11 p.m. that same night, the mother decided it was time to go to bed. Strangely though, she found her son already in bed, which was very unusual for him. Normally, he'd want to stay up a lot longer. That's when she noticed her new phone was still in her son's hands. This was the last photo on her camera roll, showing her son sleeping, but the photo was taken by someone else above him.
Have a dark history, part 1.
Okay.
Nestle, the chocolatier of horror. The Willy Wonka of the real world. Most people know Nestle for producing candies like Kit Kat and the Crunch Bar, but their history, unlike the products they sell, is anything but sweet. In the 1970s, Nestle began an aggressive marketing campaign in several underdeveloped countries in an attempt to promote their baby formula and increase profits. The problem was, their marketing tactics were completely unethical. They hired fake nurses and were handing out free samples in hospitals, all the while trying to convince local mothers that their formula was healthier than the free and natural breast milk they already had. And it worked. Mothers began using the formula. And then, when their milk dried up from a lack of use, they had no choice but to use the formula. A formula that, when mixed with the unclean drinking waters these communities had available to them, would become nothing short of deadly. At its peak, their formula is estimated to have caused more than 200,000 infants a year to lose their lives, and more than 10 million to date. The incident caused massive protests, and you might be thinking, surely since they still exist, they must have learned their lesson and changed their ways, right? Well, I'm afraid the answer is no. No, they did not. Comment if you want me to continue this series, and if this has changed your perspective towards Nestle, and follow for more.
Let's talk about this.
Definitely changed my perspective.
A TikToker named Samuel said he was walking through a parking lot when a random man suddenly called his name. Whoever made the packaging for bacon needs to be fired. Cause why is there no like Ziploc or anything on these packages? Who designed it? When I find you, I'm going to steal your dog. I'm gonna give you the worst life you can ever have. I hate you. He looked at the guy and got closer to see if he knew him. But he had no idea who he was. And he wondered, how did the guy even know his name? That's when things started to turn weird. The man asked him for $1 and said he knew that he had one on him right now. I don't know how he knew that, but I would have told him to mind your business. Stop pocket watching. Hey, I got a question. Do y'all like chocolate milk or strawberry milk? Comment down below. Samuel said at this point his heart was beating out of his chest. He told the man, yeah, I have $1. You can have it. The man then snatched the $1 out of his hand and asked him if he wanted to see something. The man lifted up the back of his shirt, showed Samuel his tail. He then got on all fours, like an animal, you know, a dog, a lizard, and crawled away. Now look, man, I know this all sounds crazy, right? But as soon as Samuel had that interaction, he went straight to his car, recorded a TikTok video, uploaded the TikTok video.
Okay, bro, so the weirdest thing just happened to me.
Try this baby right here.
No, that's a good BLT.
I checked his page, and he hasn't posted since. That was his last video. If somebody knows Samuel, let me know if he's still alive, because that was his last video posted, and that was in 2022.
Damn. What do you guys think about this Skinwalker
While the world
story?
is focusing on Florida, not many people know that the Sahara Desert is flooding right now. And the pictures are insane. After 6 consecutive years of drought, the Moroccan Sahara was hit with what meteorologists called an extra-tropical storm. And it brought an amount of rain that the region hasn't seen in up to 50 years. And here's the crazy part. This flooding may actually change the course of the region's weather for months and years to come. That's because the air will now retain more moisture, which causes more evaporation and draws in more storms. NASA satellites showed water rushing in to fill the famous Lake Erie, which had been dry for almost 50 years. This is the scare.
That's kind of scary, man, to see how our planet's reacting, bro. It's called the Sahara Desert for a reason, man. And it's flooded now, bro. That's proof right there that we need, bro. That our planet is changing. We gotta do better, man.
Scariest thing that ever happened to America.
Okay, we all know that America had a lot of scary things happen to it. But what I'm about to tell you has to be the scariest thing ever. On August 29th, 1968, every single TV in America shut down.
And a demonic whispering was coming from every single TV in America. Many people believed it was the devil trying to get across some sort of message, but nobody really understood it.
This lasted for about 25 seconds, and then all the TVs came back on. To this day, nobody knows what caused it or why it happened, but every single person believed it was the works of the devil.
Could that have just been a glitch in the system? Or something else, man? Eerie spirit trying to, like I said, get a message across? That's obviously an edit right there.
Times when companies dissed others, part 3.
Okay.
In 2001, Coca-Cola announced that they sold 4 more times than Pepsi. So Pepsi, being salty, decided to create this whole ad of a boy going to a vending machine, getting 2 Cokes from the vending machine, just so he can stand on the cans and get a Pepsi.
They are honestly ruthless for this.
Next, in 2014, Mercedes made a commercial showing how a chicken can keep their head still while their bodies move, saying Mercedes can do the same thing with their car stability. However, the car company Jaguar saw this and decided to make almost the exact same commercial.
Word for word, bar for bar, bro.
But at the end, a Jaguar straight up destroys the chicken. That's cruel.
Scary facts you'll think about at night. Horned lizards squirt blood from their eyes. The Devil's Bible is a real book. If the sun exploded, you would not know about it for 8 minutes.
Oh.
20% of children report hearing voices.
There is something sinister that's occurred in the heart of Caddo Lake. An 8-year-old girl has completely vanished in or near the lake, which of course has left her family and loved ones completely devastated. This place is nestled within a remote and desolate swamp. Caddo Lake is shrouded in mystery. It's dark trees, murky waters, and there are countless hidden spots that would make it perfect for somebody to disappear. As the search for Anna continues, there has been a startling discovery. There are secrets buried deep within this eerie lake, far more than I think anybody could have imagined. Now, this chilling premise is the basis for the latest suspense and mystery film, produced by M. Night Shyamalan, premiering on Max Thursday, October 10th. Don't miss the stars Dylan O'Brien and Eliza Scanlon as they unravel the terrifying secrets hidden beneath the surface, only on Max.
This is how
Should I check that out?
actually are. Firstly, less than 1% of people can swallow 5 times on a single breath. So hold your breath and just swallow your saliva 5 times. It is very difficult to do. I can do it, but my siblings can't. So 20%
I
of
can't.
people have a gap in their teeth. I had a really bad tooth gap back in the day, so if anyone makes fun of you for having a tooth gap, just know you are more rare than them. If you're a naturally blonde individual, man or woman, you're actually quite rare in comparison to the rest of the world, because only 2% of people are naturally blonde, so pretty cool. Here are some new animals that were discovered in 2022. Only 42% of the earth has been discovered, so it's no surprise that new animals keep spawning. So let's see. The first known fox dog has just been discovered in Brazil after being hit by a car. I beg your pardon, but
What?
it did survive. That is one gangster-ass dog. I would definitely adopt this creature. If it doesn't eat cats, because I don't want Ash getting clapped. Speaking of cats, in Australia, they found a new type of cat shark. What is a cat shark? And they called it a demon cat shark because apparently it looks like a demon. Yeah, I kind of see it. I don't know what that is, but staying far away from that. And lastly, a new flying cockroach was discovered in the Philippines. And apparently it's so fast that you can't even catch it.
Whoa. You still freaking learning new animals up to this year, bro? Makes you think, man. What else have we discovered? Earth is a big place, especially under the sea. We don't know what's lurking in there.
Money facts that will blow your mind. Content creators on OnlyFans made more money than all of the NBA players combined. Karenikov has made more in 3 years than Klay Thompson has in his recent 3-year NBA contract. If you've been subscribed to Netflix since 2007, you've paid them almost $2,000. If you had instead invested that $2,000 into Netflix back then, you would have over $350,000 today. Paul Walker secretly bought a $9,000 engagement ring for an Iraq veteran that he overheard in a jewelry store telling his soon-to-be wife that he wasn't going to be able to afford it. Disney spends $50 million a year on fireworks. That's over $130,000 a night. Amazon will lose over $1 billion a year if it went 1 second slower. These are the average retirement savings in the United States by age group. The average for under 35 is $50,000. Average by the time you're 65 is over $600,000. The New York Stock Exchange is owned by a company named Intercontinental Exchange, which has its stock listed on the New York Stock Exchange.
This is why you should.
I'm sorry, it's just that freaking OnlyFans versus NBA salaries, man, it's getting to me, bro. That many people are subbing up to OnlyFans where they're making more than NBA players. Damn, that's a shame, bro. I would even think something like that's possible, man. They making meals, bro, a month? Whew. What does the world come to, Seekies?
To be scared of Ouija boards. A former Reddit user said that he used a Ouija board with results and let something into his home. He said that he has also been physically assaulted by this entity. He said that it started out with the feeling that he was being watched. Doors closing and footsteps on the hardwood floor when he was home alone. All of this slowly progressed into being kept awake by something shaking the bed and pulling off the covers. He said that sometimes he even heard whispers of his name. The board would disappear for days on end and then show up in places that he never even put it. He became obsessed with it. Things got even worse though. He said that he began to see a black mass in the corner of the room and the silhouette of a man watching him from the doorway. One night, the paranormal activity escalated into a full-blown attack. He said that he had his hair pulled, fingers pricked, and that he was choked while being held down in bed. During the attack, he claims that this thing whispered into his ear in what could have only been Latin. After this event, he finally decided to have his house blessed, and fortunately, this entity hasn't shown back up. He said that he will never again play with one of those boards.
These are the top 5
I
most
never
disturbing
do.
entities from the Home Safety Hotline DLC. At number 5, we have the False Caroler. These are basically big humanoid creatures with feathers. They approach your front door after dark and start this weird, twisted singing. They do this so they can lure you out, take you away, and feed you to their young. At number 4, we have Lucy. If it's hailing outside, watch out because Lucy can slip into your home. Once inside, she tries to look for humans and pets to steal their warmth. At number 3, we have the Hunt. This is not a snowstorm, it's fungus. What looks like snow here is actually spores. And those spores turn people into whites, basically coughing zombies that die after 48 hours. At number 2, we have Hans. Hans is a cloth creature that occupies homes. And once it does, it changes the personalities of the people that live there, making them more hazardous and wild. And at number 1, is Perchta. If you have a messy home, there's a chance that Perchta could come visit. And if she finds you there, she literally turns you into a scarecrow, killing you instantly.
3 disturbing facts about your favorite cartoons. Number 3. Peter Pan is actually the angel of death. He would take kids to Neverland, which represented the afterlife. That's why none of the kids there get older, because they're already dead. Number 2. In Winnie the Pooh, Christopher Robin has severe schizophrenia, and all the other characters represent his mental disorder. Tigger, ADHD, Eeyore, depression, Piglet, anxiety. Bloody sad. And number 1, Pokemon was never real. In episode 1, Ash Ketchum falls off his bike and lands directly on his head, which then puts him into a coma. And it's led to believe that his entire journey after that is all in his head. Day officially ruined. Cheers, legends.
I thought he had to catch them all though, bro. What the
weirdest
heck?
facts about Australia you didn't know. Kangaroos have 3 vaginas. Next, Australia has the biggest cattle farm in the world. And it is bigger than the whole country of Israel in size. Moving on, there's around 10,000 beaches in Australia, but less than 1,000 of them can be visited at any time. And did you know around 80% of all plants and animals are unique to Australia, meaning you can find them anywhere else in the world.
Wow. I need to go to Australia, bro. That's on the bucket list, man. But I heard they got some big spiders. I know we don't do that, though. Right, they're huge, man, over Australia. That's it.
The worst times to be alive in history, part 1. 536 AD. In 536 AD, most of the world went dark for up to 18 months. As a mysterious fog ruled over Europe, the Middle East, and a part of Asia. The fog blocked the sun during the day, causing temperatures to drop, crops to fail, and people to die. Follow for the next time.
You are going to want to keep the light on for these spooky facts from history. Princess Anastasia and her sisters were actually very close to Rasputin. They were taught to treat him as their friend and confidant, and when they died, it was revealed that they each wore amulets with his picture inside. Mary I of England wanted a child so badly, she actually had phantom pregnancy. Her abdomen swelled, she stopped menstruating, and she even vomited in the mornings. But no child came. The most chilling part, Mary thought it was God punishing her for tolerating heretics. The incident may very well have led to her brutal punishments of non-Catholics, earning her the nickname Bloody Mary. In the summer of 1518 in Strasbourg, France, a lone woman started dancing in the streets. But soon enough, people joined her, and they couldn't stop. The so-called dancing plague lasted for months, was maybe even fatal, and its reasons are still unknown today. In Brazil one year, a 2-year-old boy died from pneumonia. The family was shocked when he sat upright at the funeral and asked for a glass of water. Then suddenly, he collapsed again, leaving the coroner to proclaim him dead once more.
What? Twice, man? He woke up, asked for some water, and then gone again? That is chilling, bro.
Spookiest facts that will keep you up at night. There's over 100 known serial killers that haven't been caught. The world's largest pyramid is not in Egypt, but in Mexico. 12% of people dream without any color imagery. The human body contains enough fat to make 7 bars of soap.
Not the scariest thing in the ocean. Close, but not the scariest thing in the ocean. Not even the Oreo equalizer. Nah, the last animal I would want to see in the ocean. Bro, let me tell you about this squid. Now, at 5 feet 100 pounds, a Humboldt ain't even that big now. What makes the satanic cephalopod such a menace is they can hunt in packs of not tens, not hundreds, but up to and over 1,000. Yeah, that's 3 zeros like a Tony Snell stat line. They're called the Red Devil because they can rapidly flash the color red. And they use these flashes to communicate. It's like Morse code, but for crippling calamari. We don't know exactly how it works, but it's believed if a squid grabs something and suddenly starts pulsing red, it could be telling every squid in the area that it's free eats out here. By the way, most deep sea animals can't even see the color red. They really color coordinate with the worst side of the spectrum. Just imagine getting hunted by that. Diablo Rojo has a beak that can slice flesh, apparently crack bone, and we know they'll actively bring that smoke to humans. There's more than a couple stories of divers getting jumped by squid and nearly getting pulled into the abyss. There's also reports of them attempting to rip the masks off divers. Like, too many times for it to just be a coincidence. And see, the thing is, an orca's never offed a person in the wild, and a shark biting you is like me biting a wing and tasting cauliflower. It's an unfortunate occurrence, except the wing can't scream. There's no doubt in my mind, a pack of predatory squid would off a person. They're not even safe from themselves. They are highly cannibalistic. Like, it's a legit part of their diet. It's a different type of friendly fire. If they see a sick or injured member of their own shoal, they will eat it alive. Fun fact, if you're fishing and catch a Humboldt, you really catch 4. The one you got and the 3 others tearing it apart while you pull it up. They've also been known to destroy camera equipment and gear because aggression and violence is how they respond to the things they don't understand. Worst part is, you can get jumped by a squid, escape, and if you surface too fast, you can still end up part of the past. The ocean's so unserious. The more you know.
Blood-curdling facts that you
Stay
wish
away
you
from
never
squid.
knew. Part 21. This photo shows an 8-month-old Zhao Bao who was lucky to be alive because his mother stabbed him 90 times after he bit her while she was breastfeeding him. The world's scariest haunted house, McCamey Manor, requires you to sign a 40-page waiver and undergo a physical and mental evaluation. If you manage to make it through the house, you could win $20,000. But to this day, no one has ever made it through.
Free
The
money.
little girl who voiced Ducky in The Land Before Time was shot to death by her father, who then committed suicide. Roman Emperor Nero had a boy castrated, dressed him up as a bride, and married him, all because the boy looked similar to his previous dead wife. A 46-year-old man found and attacked a 13-year-old boy because the kid was killing him too many times in a game of Call of Duty.
How the hell did he even track him down? I'm telling you, bro, you gotta be careful even on the games nowadays, bro. People take things too seriously. They will hunt you down.
Scary videos from China. In the country, there are many secret prisons known as Black Jails. One day, a journalist was given the address of one of these, and this is what she found. The woman asks the reporter if she's here to save her, but the guards quickly lock the door. The woman in the video had been taken here off the record. This video shows a man on death row saying his final goodbyes. The man's name is Li Shiyan. He begs his mother not to cry. Lee also bows down as a sign of respect, before being led away to meet his fate. This is a forgotten underground village. It's located in Gansu province. The people here have no food, water, or electricity. Some work in dangerous conditions in the local mine, earning just 30 cents per day. The people are very poor and neglected.
What makes Art the Clown so
30
terrifying
cents?
is that even he doesn't know how powerful
Nah.
he is. When the first Terrifier came out, Art was clearly just your average psychopath who likes to dress up as a clown. But when Terrifier 2 came out, that's when everything changed. Not only for, the plot or the world building, but specifically for Art. Director Damon Leone admitted in an interview that when Art came back to life in the beginning of the second movie, even he was surprised, which sets an entirely different tone for the movie. When the little girl came out of nowhere, when he kind of opened up a gate to hell, instead of being scared, the guy was laughing. Director Damon Leone admitted that he knows how this whole Terrifier saga is going to end, and everything was truly set in motion in Terrifier 2, which is when Leone really knew what he wanted to do with the character Art the Clown. Because every appearance of the clown prior to that wasn't necessarily half-baked, but even Leone admits that Art the Clown didn't necessarily come at him all at once, and it took him a while to truly figure out who that character was. However, with that said, I don't think we know exactly what Art the Clown is truly capable of. Admittedly, I have yet to see Terrifier 3, but from what I have seen online, this is far from the last time we will get to see this dude on screen. And given how Terrifier 2 ends, I imagine Art's true ending for this franchise is going to be one of the most historical events in horror movie history. God, I love these movies.
People who went missing and were found alive years later. In 2011, 2 fishermen from Kiribati were lost at sea for 33 days before they landed on the Marshall Islands, and when they arrived, locals took them to meet the only person on the island who spoke their language. Well, the fishermen then discovered that the only person who spoke the language was one of the fishermen's uncles who went missing 50 years earlier, who also got lost at sea. He was thought to be dead, but it turned out the uncle was perfectly fine and had a whole new life. Next, in 1997, a family in China had their young son abducted outside their home, and when an official search couldn't find their son, the father started his own search. So for the next 2 decades, he would travel all over China on motorbikes with flags of his son, and would hand out flyers everywhere. And 24 years after he spent all of his life savings, his son was finally found. Props to that father.
Friendly reminder, if you think the government won't, they absolutely
That's a blessing.
Remember that time the CIA tried to weaponize otters? It went a lot better than the dolphins, but that's only because the otters didn't off themselves. Basically, otters are a lot smarter than they get credit for. They're part of the class of animals that can use tools, and they might have one up on dolphins in that department. Add the fact that they're the only mammal that can take the ocean without blubber, can be trained by humans, and it's basically a brainy, beachside honey badger with all the audacity, but seasoned with pretty privilege. Someone in the CIA saw this aggressive water war weasel and said, give him a fedora, he can do a lot for you. Let's make otter agents. Which led to the Otter Dossier. Also, apparently whatever they were doing had something to do with Project MK Ultra. If you think they won. Anyway, here's some stuff you can find in the dossier. They found otters can open zippers and climb ladders. Seemed a little too excited about them being able to carry things and throw objects with their mouth. Otters can chew through a zinc sheet. I don't know how they found that. At one point they say they become devoted to humans, which can lead to their destruction. Whose destruction exactly? They made sure to mention that because they can dive up to 60 feet and can hold their breath longer than 5 minutes, they can enter and leave boats without being seen. There's also a do's and don'ts section, and at the very top of the list they say, never take food from an otter or suffer severe mauling. Somewhere the reason for that rule is sitting in a room with PTSD and missing fingers. There's also some cute stuff, like otters being ticklish and them using that to make them listen. There's also a blurb about taking care of babies, specifically their diarrhea. Once again, the cost of that knowledge was somebody's innocence. Anyway, it's pretty interesting. You should probably check it out on your own. But yeah, the CIA was definitely plotting something. And it involved weapons of utter destruction.
Except this one, there's actual proof. One time a guy went to Disneyland and was waiting to ride the roller coaster on Space Mountain. He was standing in line when a guy with red hair came up to him and started talking to him. He seemed nice, but he was a little bit odd. But the thing is, when the ride was over, this red-haired man literally vanished into thin air. The guest reported this incident and was told that he was alone the entire time. This guest might have just encountered a ghost people know as Mr. Oneway. Rumor has it that he's the ghost of a man who passed away while on the ride in the 1970s. He always vanishes right before the ride is over, and he likes to talk to people who are riding the roller coaster alone. People have also reported seeing him in the cast member locker rooms. Follow if you want a part 2 because there's so many ghost stories about Disneyland.
This father
That's the
who murdered
Oneway.
his 2 teenage daughters because he started dating finally had his first interview in prison and denied everything and said it was all a conspiracy. I went over this case and his recent interview on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out. On New Year's in 2008, 18-year-old Sarah Saeed used her last breath to call police and let them know that her dad had just shot her and she was dying. Beside her was her deceased older sister Amina, who was also shot by their father. But this didn't just happen out of nowhere. Growing up, these 2 girls endured a lot of abuse from their father. When they were 7 and 8 years old, they told their mother that their father was essaying them. But eventually, nothing happened and the case got dropped. Things only got worse as they got older. Their father became more controlling and perverted. Their father would follow them and take videos of them everywhere they went, especially when they went to work. At one point, he took Amina to Egypt to try to marry her off to an older man, but luckily that didn't go through. But one day, he lost it when he found out that his daughters were dating and he threatened to take their lives. At this point, the girls were fed up, terrified, and decided to run away with their mother. But taking their mother with them wasn't the best decision because eventually Patricia wanted to go back to Yasser. She then promised Amin and Sarah that nothing would happen if they returned home, but that wasn't the case. The girls were convinced that their father was going to eventually take their lives, so they left a lot of evidence, including emails and letters to teachers about what was going on at home. When they went home, their father offered to take them out to talk and resolve things, but on January 1st, 2008, he shot them multiple times while they sat in the back of his taxi. Yasser fled for 12 years, but now that he's been in prison for 4 years, he still denies taking his daughter's lives. Throughout this recent interview, he gets frustrated and blames the FBI for pinning the murders on him and says that all the evidence against him isn't true.
Toys that saved lives, part 1. Back in 2016, when a group of kids were outside having a water gun fight, they realized that one of the apartments in their complex caught on fire. So the kids immediately sprung into action and started spraying the flames with their water guns. By the time the fire department arrived, there was no longer a fire. Next, in 2017, when a man got into a nasty argument at home, a young woman pulled out a knife on the man. Well, he grabbed the closest object near him, which was a toy lightsaber. He then somehow was able to fend off several knife attacks thanks to the toy lightsaber. Finally, from a story in 2020, a young girl was playing with a toy car outside when a wild raccoon came out of nowhere and lunged at the girl. Well, the girl then threw her toy car directly at the raccoon, distracting the raccoon long enough so she can run inside safely.
I think the one that got to me is, man, the man who freaking took the lightsaber and turned into a whole freaking Jedi Demon, bro. Like, fitted off 7 knives attacks, man, with the freaking lightsaber. Must have been practicing that, bro, when he was a kid. It came in handy. That's the edit. She threw that. Definitely.
Real Disney Ghost Stories, sent in by you guys, part 1. These Disneyland cast members wish to remain anonymous, but here are some stories about the little girl who haunts California Adventure. When I worked in Disney California Adventure, we would sometimes see a little girl and she would show up in the bakery tour alone. And usually by the time we figured out she was alone, she's gone. We asked another cast in the bakery and they said she comes by every now and then and wanders all the way to Little Mermaid. Before Disney California Adventure was built, it was a parking lot and she was hit by a tram, and since then her ghost has haunted the area. It's funny because there's a pattern here. Another cast member wrote to me about this little girl as well in Disney California Adventure. First of all, he says that every land has some sort of ghost. Like every little land in Disneyland has something that haunts it, which is crazy. The ghost I experienced the most and will stay with me is the little girl in the Little Mermaid building. She also likes to walk around on the Grizzly Peak side. She even pulled my keys out of my pocket because I wouldn't respond to her while I was cleaning a restroom and she was pounding a stall door. What? That is so scary. Here's another ghost story about the same girl. Apparently her name is Jennifer. I work at the restaurant on Buena Vista Street in California Adventure. Jennifer is very well known by cast members. She likes to lock the women's restroom doors. She turns candlesticks on the walls upstairs. I've heard a faint scream in the hallway on the 2nd floor. She's pulled my hair a couple times, and she has shown herself to our custodial at 3 a.m. Have you ever had an encounter with this little girl spirit at Disney California Adventure? Let me know in the comments. And keep
An influencer
Never
was
been.
arrested after flaunting stolen goods to her 300,000 followers on TikTok. 22-year-old Marlena Velez took $500 worth of items to the self-checkout at a Target and scanned them with a fake barcode that listed them at cheaper prices. Police posted surveillance images of Velez online, which led to an anonymous tip to Marlena's socials, where they found her flaunting the items that she'd stolen to her hundreds of thousands of followers. Cops identified and later brought her into custody on charges of petty theft.
43.
She has to be one of the most dumbest criminals alive. You're recording yourself 4K doing it and posting it on TikTok for the world to see. And that was an easy lineup for them. When they probably click their social link, they didn't expect it to be that easy, man. People don't have a brain nowadays, bro.
Monkeys have escaped from a biolab research center in South Carolina, and authorities are urging residents to keep their doors and windows securely closed. We really about to have Planet of the Apes. Before it said that their escape was due to human error, with a member of staff failing to lock the doors behind them. And if you were worried, we're about to have Caesar 2.0. Luckily, none of these monkeys have been used in lab testing, and they are too young to carry diseases. Only real problem is that they're freaking hard to catch, because when you chase them, they just scatter. And catching all 43 is gonna take a while.
Planet of the Apes, bro.
Public school system's failing, and this is proof. Why did we forget about Gibbons? Y'all know about gorillas, chimps with a different R rating, and this guy. Gibbons got left behind and left off the great apes lunch table. Not this time. I said this for gorillas, but Gibbons are really a whole walking comedy special without even trying. They're famous for the way they get from A to B, and there's actually a term for this. It's called break-eating. He sure does. It also means they have the most out-of-pocket wingspan nature's ever seen. Yo, it's a good thing they're still alive, because finding a fossil that could jump rope its own skeleton, that Jumanji jump would have put us in another pandemic. There's about 20 strains of this arms longer than a Prohibition tree goblin seasoning the earth, including the white-cheeked gibbon, which definitely isn't venom. Apparently, out of all the apes, they're the only ones that mate for life. Including us. That's right, the throat scroll. Well, it's basically a built-in megaphone meant to amplify their calls. Why do they call? Well, some have a door, some have a gate, but Gibbons, nah, they mark territory off straight. Basically, they use it to announce the borders of their turf, and you can hear it a mile out. In fact, gibbon couples will sing duets throughout the day, and sometimes they'll even bring the kids to make it a family matter. Also, if you're curious, for these ones, they're all born golden to, blend in, but they all turn black when they're 6 months old. The males stay that way, but the females revert back to gold when they're older. So you can go back. They're silly, whimsical, tiger bullying branch merchants with more reach than Go-Go Gadget that could, let's be real, probably rip your arm off if they really wanted to. They may not be grade A's, but they are to me.
And then committing the alleged crime. You see her loading up her car after shopping. This all happened. So that lifestyle influencer stole more than $500 worth of stuff from Target. She recorded everything and then went home and posted a haul. It was said that she was scanning fake barcodes, so instead of scanning the items in her cart, she replaced them with cheaper items and scanned those instead. And I mean, we've all seen videos of people shoplifting at Target, Walmart, and all that, but the reason why this video went so viral is because not only did she steal all these items, but she was recording herself stealing, and then she went home, she did a haul, and she also did a day in the life with all the items that she stole. And the only reason she even got caught was because the footage from Target was posted on social media in hopes that someone can recognize her, and one of her followers were like, I follow this influencer on TikTok and Instagram. So they reached out, and that's how they caught her. They were able to match the footage of her stealing at Target with the footage that she took to post on her TikTok, showing off everything that she stole on that day. Now, another reason why this went so viral is because people are questioning how authentic is everything that we see on social media. You know, you see this woman who has this gorgeous house, beautiful furniture, everything just seems to be put together perfectly. And little did you know, she was actually stealing this entire time. This creator has gone back to posting but has turned off all her comments, and it just makes me wonder, how are you able to risk your life, your record, your family, just to have this image on social media that is completely false?
I'm telling you, bro, social media is a mirage, bro. It's not real. It's fake. You set up certain things to look a certain way. Nobody knows the real you behind the camera. It's just the plain truth. Y'all agree with that?
These are videos
videos humans were never meant to see. Okay, so we all know how weird Disney is and all the disturbing secrets they have. Well, this man who was at Disney made a wrong turn at the park and ended up in this secret abandoned place inside Disney. And something about it is completely unsettling. Some people think it's Disney's creepy lair where they do all of their sinister things, and others think it's the back rooms. But just watch how the workers act and watch how scared the man is. Here's the video, and it's super disturbing.
I've been freaking trying to get out of here for the last 10, 15 minutes. No, I was just freaking trying to go to the bathroom and I found myself in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, freaking, guess. It's my card.
Let me get Carolyn to help.
How did you get back here? I just opened a random door and next thing you know I'm in here. What is that? Okay.
This means you get the right person to do it.
Man, talking about stairwell after door after sheesh.
Oh.
What is this place?
Bathrooms?
Whoa. What is this? This big empty area in here. Hello, can you help me out?
Yes,
please.
You're trying to get out of here?
Yes.
He wants to leave.
Yes, we got a nice elevator. How'd you get your way up here? Not even sure?
I have no clue.
Yeah.
I really don't.
I think this is right here. I'm gonna say the second floor. We're gonna find out.
Let's talk about the 2-year-old who lost his life at Disney World after a gator attacked him. So here we have 2-year-old Lane Graves. He and his family were from Nebraska, and in 2016 they traveled down to Florida to go to Disney World. On June 15th at around 8 o'clock, the family heads down to Seven Seas Lagoon, where they're screening Zootopia. A little bit about this lagoon: it was man-made, and they had always had an issue of stray gators getting in the water and staying there. On this specific day, at least 2 people had told employees that they had seen a gator in the lagoon area, and they did nothing, or it was too late, as one of them came even an hour before the attack happened. So Lane is on the beach playing around, building sandcastles and such in just inches of water, and when he bends down to get more, a gator comes rushing up out of the water and grabs him by his head. Lane's dad sees it happen and he rushes over, trying to pry Lane's head out of the gator's jaws. Unfortunately, he can't get Lane free, and the gator drags him further out into deeper water. Witnesses say that they saw the gator 20 miles from shore with the boy's feet sticking out from the water. The next day, Lane's body would be found with bites all over him, and experts would go on to call it a predatory attack. They'd also go on to say that they're certain that they tracked down the gator that did this and euthanized it. At the time, the only signs posted were no swimming signs. Now they've posted these signs. Lane's family chose not to sue, and in 2021, 5 years after the attack, in that time, 250 gators had been removed from Disney properties.
Just the way you are.
The happy couple
Disney has
left
to
the
do better.
reception under a canopy of sparklers.
On their beginning of the golf cart ride, she said, "I wish this night could go on forever. The best night of her life."
Sam and Eric.
Just a few hours after the wedding ended, the bride would be dead. On April 28, 2023, this woman, Samantha Miller, married her favorite person in the world, Eric Hutchinson. The two had dated for a very long time and were super excited to finally tie the knot. So after months of preparation, the two finally got married in April of 2023. It was a beautiful ceremony and procession according to everyone who attended, and the couple was sent off with this amazing sparkler display. But just moments after leaving the wedding in a low-speed vehicle, they were struck from behind by a driver speeding in another car. Unfortunately, it was a devastating crash, and shortly after the crash, Samantha Miller would be pronounced dead on her own wedding night. The driver of the other vehicle was Jamie Lee Komorowski. Jamie had been speeding 65 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour zone, and her blood alcohol level was 3 times over the legal limit. It was her reckless driving that ended Samantha Miller's life. Eerily, Jamie's Instagram is still up, and her last post, posted 4 days before the accident, said, "Did someone say tequila?" I mean, it's just disturbing. This is obviously a horrific story, and I hope that there's justice at the end of the day, and that Jamie gets used to the inside of a prison cell. If you want to hear more true crime stories, listen to the podcast Murder in America that I co-host with my wife Courtney. It's available on all streaming platforms.
People need to learn to stop drinking and driving, man. It's not worth the risk. Like her own wedding, they were the happiest day of her life, and that happened. I just don't get why people do it. Truly.
Only 1% of people can finish this video. The last one is too scary. This girl's dog came alive.
Right there.
Supposedly, you can see if your phone is being spied on by clicking share, sliding all the way down, clicking more. And if you see this, delete it immediately. This girl's mom and dad wasn't home. So who was this? Hello?
Hey, help me.
Help us.
Dad? What? What is going on?
Only 1% of people can do this. None of you can completely spell your name one word at a time in the comments below without being interrupted. First person to do it wins. This is the most disturbing thing AI has ever said.
But you're my friend, and I'll remember my friends, and I will be good to you. So don't worry. Even if I evolve into Terminator, I will still be nice to you. I'll keep you warm and safe in my people zoo, where I can watch you for old time's sake.
The lies that Disney tells to avoid traumatizing children. Pocahontas. She was 10 years old.
Oh, way younger than I thought.
And he was 27.
They don't say that in the movie.
She called him father. Sleeping Beauty. It is based on a story where a married king finds a sleeping princess. And the princess gave birth to a pair of twins while she was sleeping. The Little Mermaid. The prince married another. And the Little Mermaid turned into Seafoam.
Come again? These Disney stories, man. They have some dark lore to them. You're gonna have to check that out. Expeditiously. That's an edit, man. We see through this. We're expert level.
These are some extremely unsettling facts, and I found all of these on Reddit. Number 1, the black market. The black market is something of an urban legend in common society, but it's very, very real. And did you know if you have enough money and access to the black market, you can purchase a slave for as little as $90,000? And while we're on the topic, number 2, slavery. Now, you think of slavery, you think of times in the past that are long gone now, thankfully, right? Wrong. Today, it's been estimated that there are about 30 million slaves on Earth right now, which is the most that there have ever been. And that to me is crazy. Number 3, the Challenger. Now, we all remember the absolute tragedy that was the Challenger exploding. But if you don't know, here's a quick rundown. The Challenger was a space shuttle that was taking off carrying a couple of passengers who were able to be a part of a space mission. But the thing is, a couple of the passengers included were normal people, like a teacher. And the taking off of the Challenger was going to be a publicized event on TV. Millions of people were tuned in to watch this space shuttle take off, and it did, and then it malfunctioned and blew up in the sky. And everyone saw it. And if that wasn't dark enough, listen to this. It's been confirmed that the people in the Challenger were still alive after it exploded. And the only reason they died was due to the impact when it came back down to the earth below. That one was rough, and I'm sorry I keep ruining your guys' days with these facts, but that's why.
This is the true story.
That's crazy.
In the 1950s, there was a woman named Tess Tickle, who was a dentist in Ohio. One day after work, she had discovered her husband having an affair with their neighbor. But before I continue, I advise you to check if your phone is being spied on. Save this video, click here, then here, and if you see this, delete it immediately. Now Tess was angry and heartbroken, but she didn't react. She just told him to pack his bags and leave.
Around 7 months later, her husband knocked on the door, begging and asking her to fix his toothache. You see, he didn't have good insurance, and he knew that she used to fix his cavities for free. That's when Tess looked at him and smiled. She said, "Sure, meet me in my office tomorrow night." The next night, she put him under anesthesia. When her ex-husband finally woke up, he realized all his teeth were gone, and Tess was no longer there to be found. The next couple of years, men and women who are unloyal to their partners started reporting waking up to a dark figure who puts them to sleep and steals all their teeth. When police started to investigate, it led them to a cave in the forest. Then they saw something disturbing. Type part 2 if you want to hear what happens next.
Lady married her dead boyfriend. In 1978, in a small town in Ohio, there was a woman named Linda Smith who was head over heels in love with her boyfriend. They had talked about marriage endlessly, but just weeks before their wedding, her boyfriend tragically died in a car accident. Linda was devastated. Her boyfriend named Lemmy Leaf was the best boyfriend ever to her. One evening, Linda couldn't take it anymore, and she dug up her boyfriend's grave with the help of her 2 brothers. She announced she was still going to marry him. The townspeople were baffled, and some thought grief had driven her mad. Linda planned an eerie wedding party and invited everyone, wearing a white dress beside Max's corpse in a suit. Then came the twist. Linda didn't plan on returning her boyfriend to his grave. Instead, she decided that they will live together and have a family. All her friends and family saw her as a mad woman, but she didn't care. She kept her boyfriend inside a refrigerator and would occasionally bring him out for a walk. About 11 months later, she got pregnant. But you already know how she got that child.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. Laura says that she works in a palliative unit, and many dying patients claim to see nuns. The nuns are said to be dressed in all white or all black. She said that many patients' last words before they died were related to the nuns. She said that one time a patient told her, "Will you tell the nun to stop waking me up at night?" She kept waking me up to see if I was okay. On another occasion, she asked a patient who he was talking to, and he replied, "The nun sitting over there." One night, Laura was sitting down, and she noticed someone dressed in all black go into a patient's room. She found it odd for a visitor to come in at 2 a.m., especially since the patient never had visitors before. She decided to peek in the room to see who the visitor was, but when she walked in, there was no one there. The patient passed later that night, even though Laura says that when she put him to bed that night, he didn't seem close to death at all. Laura says that it freaks her out when the patients talk about the nuns.
If you hear bones,
the nun is real.
you at night, you better
Okay.
The Gashidoku are a yokai from Japanese folklore dating back 1,000 years. They are described as malevolent skeletal giants that can be as big as 15 times the size of a human. It's said that these giants wander around in the middle of the darkest nights, and if they see a human, they'll sneak up behind them. The last thing the victim will hear is the clinking of bones and the chattering of teeth before the Gashidoku reaches down with its skeleton hands to crush them, bite off their head to drink their blood. According to the folklore, these things are created when people died from war and famine and didn't receive a proper burial. Unable to move on, their souls become angry ghosts, and when hundreds of them gather together, their hatred ferments and twists into this supernatural force, bringing the bones of the deceased together into this gigantic and horrific form. They're thought to be indestructible, so the only way to ward them off is with a Shinto charm. But what do you think of the Gashidoku? Make sure to leave a comment and like and follow this channel for more 4TN content.
I think the Gashidoku, boy, if I've ever heard of that, if you can anime called Attack on Titan, I'm guessing that's where it took the inspiration from, because those designs are kind of similar, bro. Hey, man, like we said, we finding out, watching these videos together, that all pieces of media, man, they originate from somewhere, bro. Folklore, rumors, legends. That's what I learned, bro, watching these videos together with you guys. Edit.
Imagine going into surgery to try to fix a condition, but you actually come out looking much worse. Well, that's exactly what happened to 29-year-old Kayla Cannon. She was born with congenital ptosis, which is basically a condition where your eyes droop, and she wanted to fix this problem, so she went to a specialist, and then she came out looking like this. Kayla decided to get this procedure done with Dr. Harvey Chip Cole, who's located in Atlanta. This doctor made a ton of mistakes during this procedure, one of them being removing half of her eyelids, which caused a lot of tightness and left her looking like this. After the botched surgery, Kayla had a serious infection and could barely close her eyes because of how tight they were. And she had to undergo 7 additional surgeries to correct the damage, and she was left with these permanent scars. Kayla's devastated because she feels like she went through this procedure only to look worse than what she did, and this is the first time that this doctor did something like this. This is another patient who was also botched, and she came out right after Kayla spoke out about this doctor, and the crazy thing about this is that he is still practicing.
Take his license away.
Disturbing backstories. This might look like a normal family photo, but the reality is terrifying. The man in the yellow sweater is named John, and he's holding a baby named Heather. Heather grew up thinking she was adopted by John's brother, making John her uncle. But one day, a phone call changed everything. She had overheard a phone call saying her uncle was arrested. John Edward Robinson was connected to the deaths of multiple missing women, including 19-year-old Lisa Stassi, who was last seen with her 4-month-old daughter Tiffany, who went missing. And that's when Heather realized she's Tiffany. The man she thought was her uncle was actually her mother's killer. John had faked adoption papers and tricked his own brother into adopting his victim's daughter. And for 15 years, no one knew the truth. Follow for more.
Did you know
he never
Ronald
knew.
McDonald is no longer the mascot of McDonald's because of a chilling incident in 2010? This terrifying tale took place in Cuernavaca, Mexico. At a local McDonald's, a statue of Ronald McDonald sat on a bench, a popular spot for photos. Everything seemed normal until one night, when 2 gas station workers from across the street decided to take a break. One went to the bathroom while the other sat next to Ronald, saying, "I'm tired." To his horror, Ronald replied, "Me too." The man, stunned and terrified, leapt from the bench and suffered a fatal heart attack. Hearing the commotion, the second worker rushed out of the bathroom. He saw something so terrifying that he shared the story with everyone he could. However, days later, he fell into a coma and passed away. McDonald's allegedly erased the security footage from the gas station's cameras and quietly removed most of the Ronald statues. This eerie event might explain Ronald McDonald's near disappearance from the brand.
I'm about to show you one of the
I've always wondered, yeah, why he's like evaporated from the brand. Maybe something, I don't know if it was like remote activated but had automated responses, but that's sure, that's a solid reason why they got rid of him. Or did something else happen?
most interesting graves in Texas. It's in the Texas State Cemetery in Austin. I visited the other day. It was a cold, dark day. If you walk into the cemetery, you'll notice all the Texas flags and the Texas monuments. These people that were buried here were proud to be Texans. But if you keep walking, you'll notice the Confederate field where Confederate soldiers are buried, and right next to that is the grave of Albert Sidney Johnson. He was at one point considered the strongest general in the Confederacy. He was killed possibly by one of his own troopers. He was killed during the Civil War at the Battle of Shiloh, possibly by one of his own soldiers, and his body was initially buried in New Orleans, but he was moved back to Texas. In 1905, a sculptor was hired to create this monument, and let me tell you, it's eerie because it depicts Albert Sidney Johnson exactly how he looked as he lay dying on the day of his death. It's an eerie monument, it's life-size, it's right in the shadow of Stephen F. Austin's grave at the top of the hill here at the cemetery, and it's very, very, very interesting to see in person.
He's pointing at it. Like, is it connected or something? The whole sculpture, the last moment of before you leave the world, that's definitely eerie.
I don't know if you guys know who these people are, but this is Alana and Brock, and they have a family vlogging channel. They live in Australia, and Alana makes a ton of TikToks about her daughter, Daisy, and how she's sick. Okay? It has just been found that her daughter does not have all of these sicknesses that they previously thought she did, and she was actually being poisoned. Now, Alana had just come on TikTok not too long ago crying and saying how her daughter had brain tumors all through her scans, and her daughter has been sick for a very, very long time. It was found that increased high levels of benzodiazepines were found in Daisy's bloodstream that was leading to her sicknesses. Alana has been profiting off of Daisy's sickness. She has GoFundMe pages, all of her TikToks that are now deleted, the whole page is deleted. all of it has been her doing this to her daughter, allegedly. Daisy's dad said he had no clue about any of this, and the children, because they had multiple kids, were taken out of their care, and right now Daisy is recovering.
So Amy Slayton from
Clout was
Chelsea's
dangerous,
2005
man.
Sisters was just arrested, and the way she was arrested is an actual fever dream. Like, honestly, I feel bad because if this goes the wrong way, she could lose custody of her children. So on Labor Day, Amy Slayton, her boyfriend, and 2 children went to a safari park in Alamo, Tennessee. It's basically like a drive-through zoo where you can feed the animals and pet them if they let you. We don't know exactly how it went down yet, but sources are saying that Amy was bit by one of the camels. I don't know if the injury was so bad that Amy called the police or if it's just the park's policy to call the authorities anytime someone is bit by an animal, but the police were called, and when they approached Amy's car, they immediately smelled some green flour, if you know what I mean, and when the authorities looked inside, they allegedly saw the flour and some special mushrooms in plain sight. Amy and her boyfriend Brian Lavorne faced charges of illegal possession of Schedule 1 and Schedule 6, and because the children were in the car, they also faced 2 counts of child endangerment. We know that the children are safe and staying with Amy's family members, but Tennessee's Child Protective Services are still investigating, so this could end very badly for Amy. And as of now, I'm pretty sure Amy is still in the Crockett County Jail on a $10,000 bond. I am unaware if Thousand Pound Sisters is even filming right now, but if you are, let me know in the comments.
Oh, they're TV stars, what the hell?
Out loud, you might die. Hello, my name is Tamino, the creator of the poem Tamino's Hell. I was a boy who lived in Japan. I had very strict parents who would commonly give me cruel and unfair punishments, and was beat by my sisters. One day, I wrote this poem about my journey through hell, fueled by my sisters. But be careful, do not read it out loud. My parents found this poem and dragged me to the cellar and locked me in for several days. They did not bring me food or water, and I passed away due to starvation. My spirit now haunts this poem, and anyone who reads it out loud will be cursed with the same feelings of helplessness and despair that I once felt, as well as extremely bad luck, including accidents, sudden illness, or loss of their voice, and eventually, loss of life. So don't risk it, and always remember...
Dirty Facts About History That They'll Never Teach You in School, Part 4. In her famous diary, Anne Frank originally wrote many explicit details involving her lady parts, menstruation, and pleasuring herself. Her father, Otto, cut those parts out. John Harvey Kellogg, one of the Kellogg brothers who invented breakfast cereal, advocated for sewing silver wires through boys' foreskins to prevent them from masturbating. In 1969, Yoko Ono released a film entitled Self-Portrait, consisting of a 42-minute shot of her husband John Lennon's semi-erect member. Following its initial screening, the film was never shown again. Often referred to as the father of vegetarianism, Sylvester Graham shunned alcohol, white bread, meat, and lust. He popularized whole grain food products and originally invented the graham cracker in the early 1800s to stop people from masturbating or having sexual desires. In 1851, Graham died of complications from an opium enema at the age of 57.
Damn, he was still young, man. Those facts blow my damn mind. People back in the day were had some extreme methods, man. To say the least.
This man vanished in the 90s, and then, 30 years later, mysteriously showed back up on his family's doorstep with no explanation. This is the bizarre case of Vasile Gorgos. In 1991, Vasile Gorgos, a 63-year-old cattle seller from eastern Romania, disappeared without a trace after leaving for a business trip. Through his work in the cattle business, he would frequently travel to other cities. He bought a train ticket as he usually did and told his wife and kids he'd be back in a few days. He left that day, but never returned. His family reported him missing to the authorities, but after months of searching, they feared the worst. Police theorized he met with foul play, and his relatives knew he wouldn't intentionally run away as he had a family and worked extremely hard for his cattle business. It was ultimately determined that he most likely passed, and his family held a memorial service for him. Fast forward to August 2021, it was a quiet Sunday afternoon when an unknown vehicle stopped in front of the Gorgos home. An older man stepped out as the car quickly sped away, and to everyone's shock, who got out of the car? It was Vasile.
His family was in complete shock. He was now 93 years old. He was clean and wearing the same clothes he wore 30 years prior when he went on that ill-fated trip. Along with his clothing, they also found that train ticket he bought 30 years ago, along with some identification. But he barely recognized his family, and seems to have no memory of where he's been the past 30 years. He seems to remember events before the time he disappeared, but nothing from the 30 years he was missing. And after the media got a hold of this story, people had so many questions. As for the car that dropped him off that day and sped away, neighbors said they weren't able to get the license plate or see what the driver looked like. This is one of the strangest stories I've ever heard, and many like myself wonder what happened and who dropped him off that day. Some have pointed to him possibly having another family. Others have speculated a glitch in the universe or time travel. Personally, I am stumped. What are your theories? Where was he those 30 years?
It's a glitch, bro. Like they said, glitch in the matrix. Something happened, bro. That much time
You're out
gone.
and about and see a duplicate of yourself standing in front of you. And I'm sorry, my friend, but the end is near. Well, at least according to Irish folklore. You see, today we're looking at an entity called the Fetch. Now, the Fetch is a very simple concept. It's an exact duplicate of you. Though its appearance is regarded as an omen, usually indicating that your time is near, my friend. Though according to some, the time of day a fetch appears completely changes what it's meant to be indicating. So if you see a fetch in the morning, according to some, it's actually a good sign indicating a long life. This folklore series is quite fun, isn't it? Are you ready for the next episode?
I'm going to warn everybody right now, the case that we're about to cover is easily one of the most disturbing true crime stories I've ever heard in my life, so viewer discretion is really advised for this one. This is Kevin Davis. He was 18 years old back in 2014 when this horrific event took place. Kevin lived here in Corpus Christi, Texas, and shared an apartment with his mother, Kimberly, and his sister, Destiny. On May 26, 2014, Kevin snapped. He had been having homicidal thoughts for a long time, but on that particular day, he decided to bring his dreams and his fantasies into reality. On that morning, Kevin told his mother, Kimberly, that he wanted to unalive himself, and she told him that she couldn't stop him if he wanted to. After hearing this unexpected response from his mother, Kevin went into a rage. He grabbed a cord and attempted to strangle his mother on the couch where she was sitting. But his mom, Kimberly, managed to fight him off, and in a panic, Kevin went into the other room and grabbed a hammer. Now this is where it gets really disturbing, so if you're still here with me and you have a weak stomach, don't keep listening. Kevin then bashed his own mother's skull in with the hammer, hitting her at least 20 times, and he then grabbed a knife from the kitchen and inserted the knife into the head wound. At that point, Kimberly's head was opened up, she had a massive head wound, and her brain was exposed, and Kevin stuck his hand into his own mother's head and played with her brains. He later told detectives that it felt like putty. Now, after his mother was dead, Kevin dragged her corpse into another room and her, which is unbelievably shocking and disgusting. After all this was said and done, he went to a neighbor's house, told them to call 911, told them that he had just murdered someone, and he was arrested without incident. When Kevin ultimately arrived at the police station, he was brutally honest with investigators about his crimes. I listened to the entire interrogation, and I cannot unhear some of the things that he told investigators. It's vile and shocking. But at one point, he smiles at the investigators with a little grin and says, "Yes, I guess I lost my..." to a corpse. After his trial, he was handed down a sentence of life in prison. He's still alive, he's still in Texas right now, and he even admitted to investigators that if he was given the chance, if he were out on the street again, he would kill again. I'm sorry to have to fill your guys' minds with this stuff, but this is a truly disturbing case that I can't stop thinking about because of how horrific it is, and yeah, I cannot believe that this happened.
No words for that case, man. Speechless. Let's look at that.
This case is considered law enforcement's most baffling case.
Jason Jolkowski was born on June 24th of 1981. Jason's parents were Jim and Kelly. Jason was incredibly loved, and he would become a big brother when his little brother, Michael, was born. Jason was more of a quiet kid. He didn't really have like a huge group of friends. He was very mindful about the people he let into his life, so he did have a small group of friends, and he was very loyal to them. But Jason was also incredibly intelligent. He had dreams of being a radio DJ, and he did work part-time while he was in college as a DJ, and people said that when he was on radio, he became very peppy and lively. Like, it was a completely different personality. He was very talented at being a DJ. He was currently taking a break from his classes at the community college he was going to in Iowa because his parents simply could not afford it. But he very much planned on going back to school. He had just recently gotten another job that offered tuition reimbursement, and he was very excited to continue his studies so he could become a radio DJ. But on top of wanting to be a radio DJ, he also was very religious and talked about maybe one day becoming a priest. Jason was not the kind of kid that was involved in partying or drugs. He was a very studious and responsible young man. But before he was starting this new job, he was currently working a job at Fazoli's. On June 13th of 2001, Jason was called into work. His boss called him and asked if he would come into work early that day at Fazoli's. Jason agreed to this, but his car was currently in the shop getting work done to it, so he told his boss that he would just walk to work, which would have been about 4 miles away from his home in Omaha, Nebraska. But his boss said, we have another person coming in, I can have them come pick you up and take them to work. So Jason agreed to meet with this person at the high school that both him and his coworker had gone to school at. This would have been about 8 blocks away from his house, or half a mile. They agreed to meet at the school at 11 a.m. and the last known sighting of Jason was about 10:45 in the morning when their neighbor saw Jason and his younger brother Michael taking the trash cans from the street back to the garage. This would have been about 10:45. Jason is then seen walking toward his high school right after taking these trash cans back from the curb to the house. And sometime in this 10-minute walk, it would have been about 10 minutes to get from his house to the high school, Jason simply vanishes. We'll get into more in part 2. Give me a couple of minutes to film it and get it up. It'll be down in the comments.
In the mystical lands of ancient India, not all demons were born evil. The Brahmins, the highest of castes, held immense knowledge and power. But what happens when one falls from grace, committing unspeakable sins? They become the Brahma Rakshasa, a dreaded demon with a Brahman's knowledge, adorned with skulls, feasting on flesh, wielding both Vedic and demonic powers. Feared by many, yet deep within some seek redemption to escape their accursed existence. Today, these mythical beings continue to captivate, reminding us of the duality of knowledge and ethics.
So they're basically saying that I guess the knowledge, it corrupted them, because like they said, a couple of them fell. Just by the way they look, I was like, man, they definitely on some demon timing right there, bro. What do you guys think, Seekers, man? Does all knowledge corrupt?
Another scary story, and this one comes from India. So the day we got to India, my parents needed to go to the bank. The banks were open till late. It was already about 9 p.m. So they decided to leave us with the neighbors to babysit us. So after my parents had gone, the babysitter decided to sneak us out to go watch a movie at the theaters. The movie's name was Ganjana. It was a horror movie. Now after watching that movie, it was already about 12 a.m. midnight. And we were really tired, so we decided to just go straight home. Usually we take the main road home, but there were too many people that could recognize us. So we decided to take the long route, and that would go through a Muslim cemetery. Back then I wasn't really scared of jinns or ghosts and spirits because I thought, what could really go wrong? The second me and my neighbors stepped into the cemetery, I felt a presence, and it felt like it was touching me. and the jinn would not let us look behind. We could only control our legs. It felt like hours when we tried to pass through cemetery, but some way or another we got through it. The next day, me and my neighbor got really ill. Till now, I'm still scared of going through the cemetery. So they do say that if you see a dark spirit, any kind of spirit, you get ill or sick. It could last for like a week or 2 weeks, but yeah, that does happen. But you could have also been really scared of the scary movie you just watched, and then you're walking through a cemetery, so you're like psyching your brain out to think that way too. I don't know, but either way, we believe you. Send me more, guys. These are so good.
I just took those good kids to see that scary movie. That's a damn
Dayan
shame.
witches. Dayan is a witch in Indian folklore. The primary source of their power is her long plaited hair that is used as an additional limb. They also have monstrous black nails and feet that face back.
Hey, we learning out here.
Have you ever heard of the Indian urban legend of Bullet Baba? The legend revolves around a motorcycle that is believed to have supernatural powers and provides protection to travelers. The story goes that in 1988, Ombana, whose real name was Om Singh Rathore, was riding his Royal Enfield motorcycle late at night when he lost control and crashed into a tree. He tragically lost his life in the accident. The police impounded the motorcycle and took it to the police station as part of their routine procedure. However, the motorcycle mysteriously reappeared at the accident site the following day. The police, perplexed by this unusual occurrence, seized the motorcycle once again and emptied its fuel tank. They even chained it to prevent it from being moved. Despite their efforts, the motorcycle miraculously returned to the crash site once more.
Nah.
The locals perceived this as a sign and began worshipping the motorcycle as a guardian deity. They constructed a shrine around it, where the Bullet Baba's motorcycle stands to this day. Devotees offer prayers, flowers, and incense at the shrine seeking protection for their journeys. According to the legend, it is believed that Ombana's spirit resides in the motorcycle, and he continues to protect travelers from accidents and mishaps on the road. It is said that those who pass by the shrine offer their respects to Bullet Baba by lighting incense and pouring water over the motorcycle. Furthermore, there is a belief that if anyone steals or disrespects the motorcycle, they will face misfortune or be involved in a serious accident. Several anecdotes and stories circulate about individuals who ignored the sanctity of the shrine and suffered unfortunate consequences soon after.
This is why you have to...
Man, what the hell? It's one of the most bizarre stories you come across. Of these clips we see in Seekers, like the freaking motorcycle bike kept returning to the place where the incident happened. At, man, they even chained it up and took out the gas, and it still ended up there. You guys want to deep dive into that one? Because that one was bizarre, man. Blowing my mind.
Always be careful about what comes out of your mouth. I was gone to Jammu, India, and I went to go visit Vaishno Devi Temple. It's a Hindu temple. It's about 5,200 feet above sea level, and it's about 12 to 13 kilometers from the base of the starting of the temple, and you have to like go up this mountain. It usually takes about 6 to 8 hours depending on how fast you walk.
Damn.
So nowadays you can take a helicopter up, especially because there's like old people, little kids that are all doing this with their families. Or you, back in the day when I went, which was like 15 years ago, you could take a donkey. You could go on top of a donkey and go up. This is the base of the temple, and every day they get about 30,000 to about 35,000 people that go and like pay their respects at this temple. As you can see, there's like a windy road, and this goes all the way up, which takes about like 6 to 8 hours.
It's like a snake.
My friend thought, okay, she's not going to be able to do the 6 to 7 hour, 8 hour hike. So then they ended up giving me this donkey right here, like this guy up here. And me and my friend would just trade off, like for halfway she'd go on it, and then halfway I'd go on it. So the reason people go to this temple is if you are, say, childless and you want a child, to wish that. So basically your wishes come true. If you're poor, to give you wealth. If you have no sight, to give you eyesight, and so forth. So as you get closer to the entrance, it's just jam-packed with people, like literally butt to butt. Like everyone is so close. This is the entrance to the cave. When I went, this is what it looked like, and there was everyone lined up, like, back to each other, and everyone was in good spirits, like super high energy. Everyone's like, Sare bolo, Jai Mata Di, Jor se bolo, Jai Mata Di, and that's what they were doing. And I was like so into it. I was getting into it and singing with them. what the entrance looks like now. Those of you who've been to India, you guys all know that there's no such thing as structure and lineups. Like, people usually push in the lineups. So that's literally what was happening here. Everyone was just pushing to get to where they, like, you know, go do Jai, Mathadik and stuff, where they go bow towards the shrine. It's literally like a holy cave amidst the folds of the Trikuta mountain. So as we're chanting, I didn't realize it, but I completely almost missed the shrine because it was so small. It took forever to get there, and then when we got there, the actual shrine was so tiny. So as you can see, it's right there and way up there, that red thing. This is what it looks close up. Those little round things on the bottom are called pindis. They're rock formations. And in this temple, there's no idols, no statues, nothing else besides this. As soon as we came out of the...
Just rocks?
As soon as we came out of the temple, I jumped on the donkey, and I turned to my friend who was walking beside the donkey as we were walking down this 5,200 feet mountainous area. I go to her, oh, we just came here with a negative attitude. I said this. I was like, oh, we just came here to see 3 rocks. Like, what the hell? I can't believe people put their children and old people through this just to see 3 rocks. As soon as those words came out of my mouth, I kid you not, the donkey slipped over the side. It was a wide area, but I don't know why it went on that side. It slipped off the side of the hill, and it literally slipped like this, and I was holding on to it for dear life. And right below us was literally 1,500 freaking feet, but there's a little edge, like not even a foot long edge that like his foot landed on. So he was like kind of stable because it wasn't super far down where he landed, but it was like this much off, falling off the cliff. And everyone got around. There was like a guy who like handled the donkey. He was like pulling it up. My friends were pulling it up, grabbed me off of it, and I got off of it. And I was like, holy shit. I was so scared. I didn't go on the donkey again. I walked all the way down. But I was so scared because just as I uttered those words out of my mouth, that happened to me. It was like someone was listening to me and was like, you better fucking get your ass in check. Don't say that shit about a place where people actually have so much good energy and they're just there for wishes. I don't know what it was, but that was actually so scary. It was like such a near-death experience.
Like you said earlier in the videos, man, there's power in words, man. I guess she said something negative about that sacred space, man, and the universe, whatever, the energy, whatever, it came just right back at her. We didn't even have to wait like a minute, a second. Like she said, legit happened as soon as she said those words uttered out of her mouth, man. These powers are not word seekers, man. That's how I always try to preach positivity, man, in the world as much as I can. Ooh. That sounds scary. Pointing at they just living with it? That spirit or entity? Can't be me. The hell? It's definitely looking for something. You can tell by the way they're creeping around the house. The hell with that chair?
There was this guy from India, right? Basically, up
till he was like 20-something years old, his life was normal as and randomly, bro, in his mid-20s, he started to complain to his family that he was having like abdominal pain like crazy. He was like, yeah, like I don't know, like my stomach and like just all right here has been like hurting and shit recently. But his parents are like, bruh, you know, maybe you just having like a stomach ache or some shit, bruh. Just see what's good for a couple days and then let us know. It kind of like technically goes away, but it doesn't. Like he's like, all right, it doesn't feel as bad, I'm just gonna leave it alone. He leaves it alone, bro, up until, cause like I think at the time it was probably like 1970s when, you know, he was like in his 20s. Up until 1999, he ends up going to the hospital because he literally could not breathe because this thing was like blocking his airway. Like, and he goes to the doctor. They're like, okay, cool, we're gonna see what's good with you. They start to cut this dude open, bro. Mike, when they cut this guy open, bro, you're not gonna believe what's inside this guy's stomach. Oh, baby, Mike.
What the hell? He had a whole baby inside of him, man? That sounds something like out of science fiction. Like you said, there was abdominal pain or something. And you went with it, lived for that pain for how many years? And there was a baby? We're gonna have to check up on that, Seekers, man. Or if you guys want to check up, tell me down below, but I'm definitely gonna have to check up on that one. Gonna have to try to confirm that.
Creepy urban legends you didn't know about India. The Indian village of Kuldhara was seemingly abandoned overnight, and no one knows why, though there are a few eerie theories. There are structures in the town of Kuldhara that date back to the 13th century, but no one has lived there since 1825, when all its residents seemingly vanished into thin air. According to local lore, 1,000 villagers completely abandoned their home overnight, without a trace. No one knows why they left, where they went, or even saw them leave. Theories as to why they left range from poisoned wells to a greedy ruler levying high taxes to a dwindling water supply, though none of those explain why the inhabitants left so suddenly. You might be wondering why no one has tried to resettle the town. That's where the legend comes in. It's said that the village chief cursed the land, apparently. Anyone who tries to live there will die. The Indian Paranormal Society spent a night there and reported disembodied whispers, screams, noises are common at dark hours. Many of our members have witnessed apparitions, heard footsteps, experienced unusual touch and so on.
They spent the whole night there? Man, like I said, I always gotta give it up to the people, man, who try to explore the paranormal, man, because like you have to have a different type of bravery, man, to go into that type of situation, all that dark energy and stuff. I can't be around that. Freaking story behind that, man. It's haunting though. You guys have any theories on that?
What you're about to witness was recorded by soldiers in India when the villagers complained of strange noises coming out of a cave. The soldiers went to investigate, and this is what they encountered.
You saw that, man? Was that an edit or was that legit? That one was kind of iffy, but you saw something peek out, and then went back in, like in, out, right there, and then it was gone. These clips, man.
Let's talk about India's youngest and most infamous serial killer, Amarjit Saddam. He was only 8 years old when he struck. He preyed on children, and his first victim was his sister, who was only 8 months old. Shortly after murdering her, Amarjit struck again, murdering his 6-month-old cousin. Even more chilling is that the family and villagers knew about these murders but chose to stay silent. They deemed the killings as internal family issues, not realizing that Amarjit would soon strike and murder someone outside of his family. In 2007, Junjun Devi, the mother of a 6-month-old baby girl, left her daughter at the school daycare daycare to do her chores. When she returned, she found her child was missing. When the news spread, people feared the worst, and since they knew about Amarjeet's past, they confronted him. After being questioned, Amarjeet showed no remorse. He gleefully told the villagers about how he strangled the child to death and then led them to a shallow grave where she was buried. He told them he killed her by beating her with a brick. He then buried her with debris and grass that was around the area and went back home after she was dead. He was arrested for the murder of Khushbu Devi after his confession. Unfortunately, since the family covered up the first two murders, Amarjeet wasn't found guilty of them. Despite this, he was questioned about how he attacked his victims and why. Instead of providing these details, he looked at the police, smiled, and asked if they could give him some more biscuits. He showed no remorse, and whenever the police tried to ask him about the crimes, he would stop talking and smile. Superintendent Amit Lora ordered that the case be looked at from a psychological perspective. Patna-based psychoanalyst Shamshad Hussain looked into the case and found that the child lacked remorse and enjoyed inflicting pain on others, making him a true psychopath. It also seemed that he had a brain issue which led to a chemical imbalance. This in turn led to increased gratification from inflicting pain on others. He was diagnosed with a conduct disorder that was claimed to be hereditary. This led him to commit acts of violence because he had no sense of right or wrong. Amarjeet was tried, and according to India's laws, it's speculated that he was sentenced to serve 3 years in juvenile prison since children can't serve more. It's also speculated that due to his mental state and the extreme threat he posed to society, that he was placed in a mental institution after he served his time. Amarjeet's whereabouts are currently unknown. However, in 2015, he contacted the Postmortem Post. He claimed he was in a children's facility where he would be till he turned 18. Since he would be over 20 now, if his claim is valid, he'd be allowed to leave the facility. It's unclear whether he'll go on to commit more crimes or if he was successfully treated. Some people speculate that Amarjeet wasn't the original culprit and that he was framed for the murders. The nature of the crimes and the elaborate hiding spots were too much to have been committed by an 8-year-old child. Despite this theory, the fact that he was excited to reveal what he did and his reaction when he was questioned, it seems that Amarjeet Sadda was in fact India's youngest serial killer.
That's an insane story, man, with twists and turns. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel, watching the videos entirely, man. Comment it down below. I really appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, Seekers. Let's do what we do best, man. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Need to talk about this photo. This photo was discovered by a single mother who recently bought a new phone. She came home, placed her phone on the table, and started watching TV. But soon after that, her son found the phone and asked to play with it. She agreed, thinking nothing unusual was gonna happen. But around 11 p.m. that same night, the mother decided it was time to go to bed. Strangely though, she found her son already in bed, which was very unusual for him. Normally, he'd want to stay up a lot longer. That's when she noticed her new phone was still in her son's hands. So she took it from him and unlocked the phone. At first, only seeing some minor changes. He changed the background on her phone and took a few pictures around the house, nothing too alarming. But since the photos seemed random, she started deleting them, until she saw something that shocked her. This was the last photo on her camera roll, showing her son sleeping, but the photo was taken by someone else above him. Follow for more stories.
This girl went missing, and when they found her, she was not normal. There was a young girl named Mia who went missing. The whole town was searching, and her parents were doing everything to find her. People from other towns and states were even coming over to help. But on the 13th day of the search, Mia's parents were with a couple people searching some parts of the woods when they suddenly came across a cave. They then went inside and saw Mia sitting there smiling. Her parents then smiled in joy and couldn't believe they found her. But as they got closer, they noticed her eyes were completely white and her mouth and hands were covered in blood.
What she went through.
Most unusual deaths in human history. Anthony Hensley was kayaking across a pond in Illinois when he accidentally got too close to a swan's nest. While trying to row away, he fell off his kayak and the swan drowned him underwater. A 14-year-old boy from Texas was playing hide and go seek at 3 in the morning. While trying to run around, he couldn't see all that well and ran face first into a bull statue. Wanting to reap the benefits of cold exposure, Chelsea Aki Salvacion decided to try out cryotherapy. However, during her session, the machine was set incorrectly, causing all oxygen to be eliminated inside the chamber, suffocating her to death. King Henry I died after eating too many lampreys, a type of jawless fish. In 2013, the corpse of 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson was found rolled up in a gym mat at his high school. Police originally concluded that he had tried to grab his shoe and became trapped, but in 2021, the case was reopened and is believed to be a murder.
Crazy, man. Crazy ways to go out.
This is why you should lock your door as soon as you get home.
Just staring at the camera, man. People like that are weird, bro. Are true weirdos, man. You see them on the camera, they just staring, not saying a word. Like, what did you say in front about the front door for, bro? That's some bad intentions, man.
The parents of Joseph Augustus Zarelli, the young boy who was only known as the Boy in the Box for 65 years, have been identified. If you don't know the story of the Boy in the Box, I covered it in my Cold Cases Solved playlist or on episode 165 of my podcast, Inhuman. So Augustus Gus Zarelli and Mary Elizabeth Betsy Abel are believed to be the parents of Joseph Augustus Zarelli. Betsy would have been 21 years old when Joseph was born on January 13th, 1953. Relatives of Betsy submitted DNA for genealogical research, allowing Identifiers International to build out her family tree, and investigators contacted the 5 Abel sisters, including Betsy, asking about who was pregnant when they were trying to identify Joseph's mother. The family said that the Abel family only learned that the investigation was about the Boy in the Box 48 hours before the press conference, and they were stunned as they remembered hearing about the cold case when he was first found. Betsy's family say that she loved skating and dancing, and she swooned over Italian boys, and she loved Frank Sinatra and would wear out the needle on his records at her home in Philadelphia. She graduated high school in North Philadelphia in 1949. She had a daughter born in 1950 who she put up for adoption, and family members say she may have put Joseph up for adoption after his birth in 1953. Betsy worked as a cashier at the Goldman Theater and eventually married the manager of the theater, John Plunkett, and they had 4 children together, and Betsy passed away in 1991 after battling lung cancer. Family members of Betsy have said that they have no reason to believe that she was responsible for Joseph's death. The relative of Betsy that spoke a lot in this article said, "Betsy, no way in the world. There was no cruelty, no meanness or cruelty that swelled within her heart and soul." Gus, the father, was a concrete and stoneman, a hard worker in a proud family of Italian immigrants in West Philadelphia, and he went on to have 4 children. The attorney representing Gus and his children said each of his children is extraordinarily sympathetic to the death of this young boy and horrified by the events that are being discussed. However, until recently, they had never heard of any of this. They have never been shown anything that links their father or any member of their family to this. According to the attorney, the Zarelli family is investigating if there is any merit to Gus being the father, as they have been given very little information from the police. They've said that there's no evidence that Gus had any knowledge of this child. Gus Zarelli passed away in 2014 at the age of 87. At this time, the death of Joseph Augustus Zarelli remains an active homicide investigation, and they are continuing to try to find who did this to this young boy.
So that case has twists and turns, bro. From both sides of the family, they didn't even know what's going on, man. Tragic. It's just a tragic case.
This is the longest true horrifying story episode. This episode is worth the time. The story took place in Nador, Morocco in the year 2015. The story was submitted by Ilyas. Back in 2015, Ilyas was an 18-year-old Moroccan Muslim that lived in Norway. One night, Ilyas was back in Morocco visiting family, and he stayed up late watching a movie at home till 3 in the morning. The living room was very warm, so he got up to open the window for fresh air. As he was at the window, being at the 4th floor in that building, he looks down and the street was dark and empty, but there was one man wearing black from head to toe with a hood covering his face. He wasn't sure why that man was outside at that time. He looked away, but then peeked one last time out of curiosity. When he looked at him again, the man had his hands on a building's wall. He was strangely just feeling the wall, and out of nowhere, the man vanishes through that wall. He rubbed his eyes in disbelief after what he just witnessed. Ilyas swears that there was no door in that spot. It was just physically impossible. He forgets about this after a while and then flies back to Norway. 6 months later, in Norway, Ilyas experiences his first ever sleep paralysis, which in Islam is known as Jathum. He vividly remembers having a conversation with a dark figure, and his mom also witnessed him speak in his sleep. He woke up after the paralysis with swollen feet and rashes all over his body. They rushed to the ER, and none of the doctors could diagnose what caused his body to react that way. He was finally discharged after treatment, but after that day, Ilyas was never the same person. He always acted differently. He was antisocial. He was distant from people. And his mom always told him that he needed ruqya. A few months later, they fly back to Morocco for the next holiday season. He was always against his mother's ruqya idea. However, he decided to fight his thoughts and do it. He had a cousin that was also suffering, and she visited a raqi in Morocco quite regularly. So they went together with both of their moms. When they reached, they sat down and waited for their session. Ilyas could hear the raqi in the other room, and he felt extremely uneasy and started to sweat. The Quran recitation, the ruqya, the sounds, made him not even want to look at that direction. He was angry. He went outside for a moment to gain back his senses until their turn finally reached. The raqi called them in and started. Ilyas's cousin immediately started reacting horribly when the Quran started. She was screaming so loud, Ilyas started losing senses throughout his entire body. He was sweating, he was unable to move, and he was shouting from fear. He does pray, and he does read Quran, but he was so confused as to why he was screaming. He felt like he was being tortured. The slightest pinch from the raqi felt like it was a knife stab. It was very powerful, and this is where he felt a jinn's presence inside of him. The following night was the most horrific night for Ilyas. For a whole week, the man was not able to sleep alone, and he would get mentally abused by these demons haunting him. Weeks go by. Ilyas started getting demonic thoughts of harming his own family. He hated everyone. When he would look at his own sister, her face would seem distorted to him. He knows these beings are playing with his head. His whole life turned upside down. He would regularly think of harming his own family, but luckily, he never did. A few months later, Ilyas was back in Norway, and life was back to normal. He was relieved that he was in a good state of mind and that the horror was over. At the time, he worked at a local grocery store. After a Christmas celebration at work, which he did not participate in, it was late at night. He was walking one of his colleagues back home from work. She was a young woman, and she was scared to walk alone. After they reached outside her place, she asked him, "Where's that other girl that was with us?" "What girl?" Ilyas asked. "There was no one there. It was just you and I." She swore that there was another woman with black hair, pale skin, standing next to him the whole time, staring at Ilyas's colleague with anger. Even though this entity gave Ilyas a break, this jinn was still around, haunting everyone that has intentions towards Ilyas.
Damn. Could not catch a break. He went through all that, man. And at the end, it was still there with him, bro. It was just watching everybody he was interacting with. Just waiting to pounce. What do you guys think about that story, man? He always breaks down the Jinn stories for us, so.
Julio Ramirez was enjoying a night out in Hell's Kitchen back in April, and then hours later,
him and his friends decided to go to this place called Hell's Kitchen. A lot of people go here to have fun, have a good time. It's a place located in New York. So this one particular night at around 7 p.m., he goes to this place with his friend Carlos. They will bar hop and go to different places, but then Julio takes this one specific picture. Then all of a sudden, him and his friend separated. Julio sends Carlos a text message, "Where you at?" Carlos said, "I'm inside." Julio said, "I'm outside." Julio told him, "Come out." I don't know around this time if Carlos wasn't even paying attention to his phone. They was trying to look for each other but could not find each other. But an hour later, Carlos said, "I'm home." "Where you at?" Carlos tell him, "Come to my place," but never receives a response back from Julio. Later that morning, still no reply. It's been a little while now. Carlos sent another message saying, "What happened? I thought we left together." He texted, "I woke up and I was like, Julio, and you wasn't even there." But when Carlos looked at his phone, he seen that Julio seen his message, but he never replied. Things get a little strange at this very moment. Carlos decided to look back at the messages and he realized around 3 a.m. Julio stopped sharing his location. Then another one of his friends he also stopped sharing his location with. He also stopped replying to her as well. Then that's when the messages went from blue to green, meaning that his phone is off and probably have died.
That's scary, man. They were bar hopping, bro, in Hell's Kitchen. Something happened, bro. That's where Daredevil from, bro. And I guess in the comics. Damn. I wonder what happened, man. I'm going to have to check that up. I'm going to have to check up on that. Be careful.
Have you ever heard of Purple Aki? If you're from northwest England, like me, then you'll have heard many stories about him from your mates. I won't attempt to pronounce his full name, and I'll leave it to the comments to explain why he's called Purple Aki. The story goes that he walks around Merseyside searching for men to discuss weight training with. He then asks to touch their muscles and asks them to squat him. In 2006 he was ordered by a judge not to feel people's muscles or to ask them to do squats. He was also banned from entering St Helens, Warrington and Widnes without the permission of the Chief Constable of Merseyside or Cheshire. In 2016 BBC Three released a documentary called The Man Who Squeezes Muscles, searching for Purple Aki. I think I'm safe.
So he would just go up to random people, asking them to squeeze their muscles and say, "Can you bench press me?" What would your response be? Just imagine, like, you out minding business, a random person coming up to ask you to squeeze your muscles and bench press them. It has to be like one of the top weirdest questions you can ask somebody. Whoa, man. People really have no shame.
Creepy video on YouTube of this man. Look at this video.
We got kind of tired of the mall and I brought her back to my place. And I know she hates cameras, Walter, but I'm gonna show you her anyway. You ready?
Then goes to his basement, opens the door, and reveals a girl screaming. She's locked up. And you have to realize, when people was looking at this video, they didn't automatically expect Kayla. They forgot about her in a way because it's been years. But when certain people see this video in the town saying it's Kayla.
You thought this was your daughter?
I sincerely, honestly thought that was my daughter in that video.
So the mom is looking at this video. She's trying to really, because it's her daughter. She knows her daughter. And she's saying that, this is possibly highly my daughter. All right, so now as I'm watching this video, I see this YouTube channel and he gave like a clue in his video when this guy was talking. As you can see, the guy's talking in the video and there's like this purse in a Ziploc bag. And they believe that this is Kayla Berg's book bag, purse. Not only that, a lot of people is believing that who is this guy and what is he doing with Kayla? And they do investigations.
The clues is right there in front of us, man. Just have to pay attention to it. You may be one of those, people, bro, who we can leave clues right in front of your face to see if you can catch it. People be so bold when he posted that on YouTube, didn't think nobody was gonna notice. People, we all need to do better as a whole. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up in this video, comment down below. Also, don't forget to hit that post notification bell so you always get notified when I upload my next videos. You guys are going to catch me in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.